Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here. Got a pretty good show for you guys today. Today's Friday the 23rd of February 2024. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to get started here. First thing we're going to talk about is what happened yesterday in the United States with over 70,000 cell phone users having their phones go kaput. And I'm going to tell you what, wasn't this that? They couldn't even get into 911 service. Now that's bad. You know, I wonder if any emergency, if there was, how many emergencies there was during that period in time. Goodness knows. So we're sitting around here and we're wondering, well, what caused all that yesterday? It says solar flares erupted during the nationwide cell phone outage. Did they cause it? In this article. It says, and this is from Yahoo News, a nationwide outage Thursday that left tens of thousands of Americans without cell phone service, it says, was likely not caused by two major solar flares erupting earlier this week, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. When did the flares occur? And did they affect a nationwide cell phone outage? Here's what we know, it says. It says the two flares erupted from the sun late afternoon on Friday the 21st through the overnight hours into February the 22nd. The events peaked at 6:07 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday, and the second peak was at 1:32 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday. Did the solar flares cause a nationwide cell phone outage? Question mark. Solar flares can affect communication systems, radar, and the global positioning system, but based on the intensity of these two eruptions, it's unlikely that these flares contributed to a widely reported cellular network outage, says National Atmospheric Administration. What is a solar flare? A solar flare is a burst of radiation that comes in the form of a release of magnetic energy associated with sunspots, according to NASA. Now, not all solar flares are created the same, guys. There's different classes of solar flares and different powers and different intensities. A long time ago, there was an event in the United States of America called the Carrington event, and it was a very, very powerful one of these, probably off the scale. And you don't feel it or notice it. Like, when a solar flare happens, like, it's not going to burn or fry us. It doesn't hurt us. We don't even feel it. We don't even know it's happening because it's in something that our body, it doesn't affect our bodies any, or very little. But it affects electronics. And this was the Carrington event, was so long ago in history that we wouldn't have even known that it happened. Because back in those days, nobody had electricity, and I don't even think there was any cars back when the Carrington event happened. So we wouldn't have known, except in the United States, they had these telecommunications back then were these operators of the telegraph machines. And they had telegraph poles set up with electrical lines on them where they'd send a signal across the country, and you could go in and transmit a message across America for a price. And there was a guy who had this little thing, and he'd tap it, and he'd tap Morse code into it, and that Morse code would go through the telegraph line to the other side of the country, where another receiver then would receive the signal of Morse code. And so they could send a message that way rather quickly. And so people used the telegraph service like you use the phone today. It was before the advent and before we had all these cell phones. And so that they found out about the Carrington event because it burned up the telegraph lines. Now those telegraph lines are very hardwired. They're copper wire. To burn a copper wire, you need a great intensity of a solar storm. And it did. It burned up the copper wires. That kind of intensity today would burn up all of our electrical systems. Would send us into the Stone Age. So what that proved was that this can happen. You can get a solar flare that strong. And so, but they're saying that this solar flare here did not cause, according to NOAA, official government agency, that solar storm did not cause this outage. So what caused the outage? According to a statement from AT&T released on Thursday, we believe that today's outage was caused by the application and execution of incorrect processes. It says we were expanding our networks, and it was not a cyber attack, AT&T said. And they are continuing to assess Thursday's outage to ensure they deliver service to customers. Now, that's the official report. So we'll leave it at that. Now, Putin, he's got a big new supersonic bomber, and he was just flying it yesterday in this big supersonic bomber. And see the ladder they have to lower down in order to get him up into the bomber, that big orange ladder? He has to climb up into the fuselage, maybe 15 feet to get up inside the fuselage. And it says Russian President Vladimir Putin on Thursday flew the Tupolev, the Tu-160M, I'll just call it that. A strategic bomber, state-run news agency reported, in what is likely a campaign stunt ahead of the March 15th to 17th presidential election. That's what they say here. But, if I was Putin, I would enjoy riding around in that bomber. I would take the trip. It wouldn't be any sort of a campaign stunt or anything. I would just enjoy it, Have they ever thought Putin maybe did this for his enjoyment? I don't know. Maybe he did. But that's assuming that it was a campaign stunt. Perhaps, I don't know. It says the Tu-160M is a modernized version of a Cold War-era bomber that has 2 internal bomb bays, each which can hold up to 6 cruise missiles. It can hold 12 short-range nuclear missiles. So it can hold 12 nuclear bombs, this thing he was flying in. And it's very fast. Let's just put it that way. A ship is ablaze. Now, the Houthis, they're at it still. I mean, it's almost every day now. A ship burning in this area. So, I mean, you can get them confused. Like, there's one yesterday and one the day before that. And you get them confused. Which ship's burning? I don't know, because they just lit another one on fire. It's just like a steady attack going on. So a ship right now is ablaze in the Gulf of Aden as Israel shoots down fire in suspected Yemeni Houthi rebel attack. A suspected missile attack by Yemen's Houthi rebels set a ship ablaze in the Gulf of Aden on Thursday as Israel intercepted what appeared to be another Houthi attack near the port city of Eilat, authorities says. The attacks come as the rebels escalate their assaults over Israel's war against Hamas in the Gaza Strip. So the Houthis are really, they're active. They're very active, and they're basically any ship that goes through this little narrow spot right here near the Gulf of Aden could be attacked. And so they're better off at this point to go down around Africa rather than risk it. That's my opinion on it anyway. If I had a ship down in there, I'd say no, it's not worth it. You're probably going to get shot at the very least, China tells the International Court of Justice that justice must not be denied for Palestinians. That's what China's just said. Says China has told the International Court of Justice that the Palestinians must not be denied justice at a hearing on the Israel occupation of the Palestinian territories. This is what China's foreign minister and legal advisor, Ma Exman, Well, the only way I know how to pronounce M.A. is Ma. Ma Inman told the court in The Hague in the Netherlands on Thursday. Now, ravaged by war, it says here, Russia is rebuilding its army with surprising speed. Of course, I've known about this for a while now, that Russia is in war mode, and I've talked about it on my channel here, how that they are turning in just like a prize fighter when he's in his prime and he's got all these contenders lined up in front of him, and every day he's going to the gym and he's just like shadow boxing and jumping rope and everything else to get in fit for the job he's doing. Russia's like that right now. They are just building their armaments. They're building their factories. They're enlisting men. They're training men for the army. They've turned into a war machine. Russia's a war machine now at this point, and you'd be amazed how powerful they are and how powerful they're becoming. It says, on the second anniversary of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the Russian army is showing a remarkable capacity to take extraordinary punishment and regenerate itself at a pace Western military leaders and experts had not anticipated. See, I was ahead of this. I told you guys this was what's happening 6 months ago. And I think it's going to get a lot worse. Russia's probably going to get a lot more. And China's doing exactly the same thing, but they are not talking. They're just keeping their mouth shut. They're over there. They're training. They're building their military out like crazy right now. Germany. Their parliament right now has approved the marijuana legalization bill. So, pot's going to be liberated in Germany. It says German parliament has officially approved a bill to legalize marijuana nationwide. 2 days after the cannabis legislation was considered by 8... What's this? 2 days after the cannabis legislation was considered by 8 committees of the Bundestag, the full body voted 407 to 226 on a final passage on Friday. The bill, which will make possession at-home cultivation legal and authorize social clubs that can distribute marijuana to members, now heads to the Bundestag, a separate legislative chamber that represents the German states. Through its members, cannot stop the reform from being enacted. It says that legalization would take effect in April if it's enacted. It says there are new questions about that timeline. The Bundestag may move to refer the legislation to a mediation committee to address criminal justice-related implications of the law. Marijuana in Berlin and in Germany. Now I wanted to talk about another drug here called Stevia. And it's a sugar substitute. And I'm not going to go into all the lengthy parts of this article, but because it is a long article and it deals with the potential impact of stevia on the gut microbiome. Evidently, it has somewhat of a negative effect on the gut's microbiome, but there's more. It can cause gastrointestinal discomfort, possibly. And this is the one I was interested in right here, is the potential impact of stevia on brain and on the nervous system. And it says that stevia may disrupt the endocrine function and effective immunity. And stevia in human studies. Where was it here? about how it can cause yeah, here it is right here. It says, in addition to potentially affecting the dopamine system, animal experiments have shown that stevia may also influence memory. Research at the University of Southern California published in a study in 2022 where they provided juvenile rats with either artificial sweeteners or water with added stevia for a month. Then they tested their memory. The results revealed that both artificial sweeteners and stevia impaired the rats' memory compared with those only drinking water. The rats were less likely to remember objects or navigate through mazes successfully. I found that interesting for anybody out there. I don't know. Maybe there's a few people out in my audience that use stevia. Take that into consideration. Look up and do your own diligent research. Now, we're moving on to the markets today. Silver price is going up today. It's up 4 cents at $22.76. Right now, it seems to be swinging upwards. But it's been playing this game so long that I hardly pay any attention to it any longer in these small moves. I'll sit up and take notice if we start to get some big moves in silver to the upside. I'll sit up and take notice. But as of right now, I mean, they've been playing these games between $24 and $21.50, and about $24. It gets up close to $24, maybe $23.80, and then they smack it back down to $21, $22, and back and forth. It's been for the longest while now. Gold is at $20.31 today, and it's going up too. It's up $7.20. Now, as far as cryptocurrency is concerned, Bitcoin it's not 52,000 anymore. Now it's 50,820. It's dropping. It's been dropping slowly away from that move. Big question mark in my mind, will it drop back down into the 40s? I think it might be getting ready to take another bounce, but we'll have to wait and see. So it's at 50,816. Ethereum is at 29.18. And we're looking at XRP at 52.8 cents. Now, the Dow Jones Industrial Average today, we're over 39,000 now. 39,192. It's up 123 points on the day. We're in nosebleed territory as far as I'm concerned with the Dow right now. Taking a look at the crude oil. Crude oil is down $1.24 at $77.37 today. Bonds and rates. We're looking at falling yields. The U.S. 10-year fell 5.5 basis points and it sits at 4.27. And the U.S. 30-year fell 6.8 basis points and it's at 4.39. Probably the reason why the markets are up today is because yields are falling. It generally has a negative effect upon gold, but gold's up today too. No, I mean rising yields, I should say. I got a little bit rising yields. No, that's not the effect upon gold today. Sorry. My brain sometimes gets things a little bit backwards. Okay, now for the dollar index today is at 103.99. 103.99, and it's going along sideways today. It's actually risen 0.4 of a dollar. I mean, 4/100ths, I should say, of a dollar, which is practically nothing. So, but it's mostly going along sideways today at 103.99. Thank you guys for listening to my show. Like and subscribe. And you guys have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.